at you guys. You're some pretty cool dudes, you know that? Oh, hey, what's up? I was just checking out these Springtails. You guys are gonna have to come quite a bit closer if you want to see these guys. This little creature is a Columbula springtail. They're tiny invertebrates that are also detrivores, which means they use organic waste as a food source. So you're probably wondering, what's the use of these guys? Well, the first and biggest reason is that springtails are an essential part of your terrarium's cleanup crew. Your cleanup crew involves multiple different types of insects and fungi, but they all go into making your terrarium a healthy place. Their job is to eat mold, animal waste, and decomposing plants. Then they turn that into nutrients which get recycled back into your substrate. They also aerate the soil as they dig through. Second reason is these guys are actually food for small animals like dart frogs or even fish. So it's always a good idea to keep an extra culture on hand, that way you can add more to the terrariums as you need. Speaking of which, why don't I show you guys how to make a culture? So I'll go through everything that we need here to start making your own culture. First, we have a container here. You can use just about any container you have around the house. This one's a Sterilite bin. You are going to need some type of food, and I'll go over the options on this in just a second. You're gonna need Springtails, of course, and then you're going to need charcoal. You want to get 100% natural lump charcoal. Make sure there's no chemicals or anything on this. And then we're gonna need dechlorinated water. So first, let's talk about the food here. So there are a few different ways that you can approach the food aspect. You can use a pre-made version of it. This one is from BioDude. The rest of the stuff I got from Josh's Frogs, and I'll leave a link in the description for all of this. You can also use yeast, which you can get right at the grocery store, or you can use white rice. The important thing to remember here is that the Springtails don't eat the actual raw food that you're putting in there. They actually eat the mold that is growing off of the food. So let's get into making this culture, and I'll guide you through all the steps. So here we have all the materials that we're going to need already laid out. We have our tub, and it's also an important thing to note that this actually does not require any ventilation. You'll be opening this up every few days to reapply some food, give them some water. That's plenty enough oxygen for them. So charcoal, another note here, this is likely going to get everywhere. We already have charcoal on my hands just from touching the bag. So we're going to try to keep this clean. Yeah, we have 4 quarts of charcoal here going into a 6-quart container. So this is going to fill up the container quite a bit. And you definitely don't need to have this big of a container. You can have any size, just like this one here. This one's a very small culture. This is the culture that I'm going to keep for all the reptiles I have, and amphibians too. Okay, so we're gonna try to keep this from blowing dust everywhere. So we have all of our charcoal in here. This charcoal already has pretty small bits in it. You can buy lump charcoal off of Amazon as well. I know they come in fairly big chunks compared to this, so you can take a hammer to it and just smash them up until you have nice small pieces like this. So after we have our charcoal in our container, what we're going to want to do is take our dechlorinated water. This has already been done to this water here. And just pour this over it. What we want is about a ½ inch to an inch of water in the bottom of this. Okay, that was nowhere near enough water. So I got another jug of dechlorinated water here. So we're gonna keep pouring this in until we reach that just about an inch mark. So that looks good right about there. And then we're going to introduce our springtails to their new home. There is quite a few different ways that you can transfer springtails, either into a culture or into your terrarium. And they get their name Springtails because they spring. They'll fly right out, so might want to be careful if you don't want these guys all over your table. So first easy way would literally just be to dump the entire thing into the culture. If you're setting up a new terrarium, you can use this right in like your charcoal layer of a bioactive setup. Or, let me put this down for a second. If you want to transfer just a small part of your springtails, you can actually add some water in here. And springtails will actually float on top of water. So once we add the water in here, the springtails are floating on top of the water, and then you can just pour a little bit of that water in, and you can see where the springtails have come out on top of this. So that's probably going to be the easiest way that you can transfer a batch into multiple terrariums, or even a small bit of it into one terrarium if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these springtails in here because I'm going to make a nice big culture. And now that I got this wet, of course, it doesn't want to come out. So we'll just transfer everything in here. And when you're transferring from one culture to a new culture, you want to make sure you get everything out of this jar, because not only do you want to get just the springtails, you want to get all the eggs that they've already laid in here. So, just going to mix this in, give them a nice little flat area up on the top here. Now, humidity and the water that goes into here is such an important thing, because if the springtails don't have a high enough humidity, your culture is not going to last very long. They need to keep it at least 80% humidity in here. Just keeping the water down at the bottom of the 1 inch mark will help a huge amount with this. Also, for temperature wise, you should keep these guys between 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I have my temperature in my house at 75, so most household temperatures are going to be perfectly fine for that. And then we are going to do the food. So you just want to sprinkle a nice, well, there we go, a nice even layer of food all across the top here. When you're first starting off a new culture, you want to make sure they have plenty of food, more than they need. It'll help them reproduce rapidly in their new environment. There we go. Now, once you have a primary culture set up, this one can keep going for years. All you need to do is add some more food, give them some more water, and they will do the rest all by themselves. So a few tips for these springtails. So if your culture does crash, you'll want to completely clean out this container and start with fresh new charcoal. There are a few different reasons that your culture can crash. Sometimes you have no idea what actually caused it. Could have been some type of a parasite in there. It could have been due to humidity, any number of things. Sometimes we just don't ever know. Also, if this starts to stink, just cut down on the food. Like I said, they eat the mold that grows on the food, not the actual food that we put in itself, so sometimes that does happen. And dust off my hands here. And then we're just going to put our cute purple little lid on this culture, and I'll keep this one on the top of my rack. And then we'll just let it sit there and reproduce for the next few weeks, and then I'll add it into my terrariums again to refresh them. Okay guys, thanks for watching us get dirty while playing with Springtails today. Remember to like and subscribe for more animal care videos, and feel free to comment if you would like to see anything specific, if you have any questions. Also, we'll leave all of our product links in the description below, and if you're interested in bioactive terrariums, we'll be doing a video on that soon.